Here in my hands is a report for the ultra-rich. It presents to them the possibility for the gradual collapse of financial capitalism as we know it today, as well as the start of a new era that the report named the Age of Disorder. This is a report from Deutsche Bank, and it's normally sold to its client, the ultra-rich. However, it has since leaked. As you can see from my clothes, I'm not a billionaire. I'm just a poor Lebanese researcher in Europe. And perhaps you, like me, feel priced out of assets as a result of the financial bubbles created by the super rich and the baby boomers. So allow me to provide you some of this basis for reflection that is normally reserved for the ultra-rich. The report begins by describing global historical cycles and concludes that the current era, termed the second globalization era, is about to come to an end. I even get a sense of nostalgia from their lines. One of the most important concerns in the coming age of disorder will be the deterioration of US-China relations. China may soon overtake the United States as the world's largest economy, raising economic tensions as the date approaches. The global geopolitical structure has been relatively simple over the last 20 years. The three major political blocs were the United States, China, and the European Union. However, this is likely to escalate into a bipolar US-China conflict. It's essentially a return to something akin to the Cold War, but China is far more integrated into the global economy than the USSR was. As the economic gap between the United States and China narrows, many are concerned about the so-called Thucydides Trap, in which a rising power challenges the dominance of an established power, and the dominant power responds with violence as it did several times in the past. For example, with Sparta and Athens, but also England and France. But even if a likely military conflict does not occur, an economic battle will, and the current global trading condition will only fade away. Maybe you realized Europe is no longer a relevant political bloc, according to the report. Here's where I disagree with the report. Europe has never been a political bloc and has always been the US lapdog. We all know how the European Union was created by the US and has been completely infiltrated by the Euro-Atlantists. As with any master-slave relationship, the master shows little to no regard for its slave. The European Union may in fact dissolve due to the friction of running several different economies under the same currency, which means that the differences in productivity cannot be compensated for by changes in exchange rates. Efforts to restore cohesion appear impossible based on my reading of the report, especially when you consider the shenanigans that occurs between countries for masks at the start of the COVID crisis, or for example the different marketing postures adopted by countries toward the Russian gas. One major issue that Europe is dealing with is that many of its countries are actually in debt, which leads directly to another theme in the Age of Disorder. Debt is a global issue, not just a problem in Europe's periphery, and this is only because central banks have distorted free markets. The Eurozone is also rapidly aging, with its share of population over 65 years old increasing faster than in the rest of the world. To compensate for a future population decline, the EU countries will most likely rely heavily on immigration from developing countries. But we all know that it means plenty of future social issues that will be exploited by isolationists to undermine the EU cohesion. And the aging and shrinking population affects the entire Western world, not just Europe. It is in fact at the heart of what the report predicts as a shift in balance. They basically admit that boomers have been a drain on economic growth. It's now widely accepted among younger generations that prosperity has been skewed due to the slow real wage growth or the outsourcing of many low-wage jobs. For example, it's now more difficult for young people than it was for their parents or grandparents to purchase their first home. And unless the lives of millennials improve economically, 2030 will be a turning point in society. Indeed, by 2030, the number of voters from younger generations who feel disadvantaged will outnumber those from older generations in the major industrialized countries. With this electoral power balance shifts, governments may decide on redistribution measures in favor of younger generations. The older generation will bear the brunt of the power balance shift. This could result in a harsher inheritance tax regime, less income protection for pensioners, more property taxes, in addition to the higher income and corporate taxes, and overall more redistributive policies. I haven't said anything about this article suggests about inflation or climate change, but I strongly encourage you to read it. You can support me on Patreon and we stay in touch on Twitter and Instagram.